There is a stitch in menu D that is called a hand look quilt stitch. So it is a manipulated stitch, and I'm going to show you the details of it. And I'm sure one day somebody had their tensions all messed up and thought, oh, it looks like hand quilting. And so they've put it on the machine ever since, but it is a truly manipulated look. So I'm going to show you the tricks. First off, I love using the Husqvarna Viking Mega Spool stand. So all I have to do is flip this little guy up. I'm going to put this on top of it. This is like a little extra thread stand. You need this when you're working with like the clear threads, and then that way those threads have time to kind of relax. So clear thread goes in your needle, and whatever color you want the hand looking stitch to be, that thread goes in your bobbin. And yes, it feels like I'm threading with invisible thread, so thank goodness for the needle threader. And okay, so when we pick the stitch, it shows us a foot P that looks like a 1/4 inch foot. You can really use any foot. You can even use your walking foot as you do this. But let's look at the tension. The tension is set at 8.0. So that means that this thread on the top is so tight that it's going to drag our bobbin thread up as the sequence starts. Now sometimes I get the pull that I'm looking for, and sometimes I need to go even higher yet. And there is kind of that fine line of too much thread, but ooh, actually just a little bit more was exactly what I'm looking for. So let me stitch a little bit, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, now give us an idea. You can use your thread cutter with the clear thread, no problem. All right, so from here, does that look like it's stitched by hand? It does. Now this is where I was at the beginning. I wasn't getting the stitch all the way pulled up. But once I tighten it a little bit more, I have the stitches that look like they are done. Now, on the back, it's going to look like a regular stitch because that's where our bobbin thread is. Do you notice where some of the stitches look like they're tripled up? And that's because they are. So here's how it goes. The stitch went forward, and then it came back, and because the tension was so tight, it dragged the bobbin thread back with it. It did an extra stitch back here, and then it took 2 stitches forward, one over itself and then one to create that gap. That gap, if you look really close, that's where the clear thread is. That's why you can't see it. It looks like hand stitching. Also a lot faster than doing it by hand. And then it starts it again, goes forward, repeats by pulling that bobbin thread back up, locks it, and then stitches 2 times forward. So there's a couple elements in here that can make a difference. I have had some battings that don't allow the bobbin thread to really be yanked up through them. I've had some thread that won't come up through the batting. So even sometimes the slippery polyester threads that we use for embroidery, those work really good actually. But some cotton threads have been too rough to get pulled up, and it didn't matter how tight I tightened that tension, they never came up to the top. So if you're not getting the results that you're seeing here, and again, we are kind of, I think it maxes out at 10 on the tension, 9.8. That really is a tight setting. And then of course, sometimes you start to get the thread breaking up here. Another thing too is if you have older clear thread, it might be time for just a new spool. That can also be an element in here. So batting, thread, clear thread, tension, there's a lot of elements to get this stitch to look like what it's supposed to. So give it time, test it out, try it, and then try some changes if it doesn't look just right.